Hey, in this video, I'm going to give you the second 7 of the 14 elements to create massive confidence as a transformational coach. If you missed the first 7, we'll link to part 1 down below. And really pay attention to the last 3, where I tell you where you need to go from to. Does that make sense? So let's talk about, first of all, foundations. Most people don't want foundations, they want fantasy. Most people are wanting the magic pill success recipe. And if I can get there faster and make sure that it doesn't cause any discomfort and it's free and it's easy and it's fast, then I'm all for it, right? And there's something totally fine with that. It's actually the way that our brain is wired. Our brain is wired to seek shortcuts because our brain wants to save energy. So because our brain our unconscious mind wants to conserve energy and effort, we are actually at a neurological level easily tempted by shortcuts. So that's hopefully important, hopefully valuable for you to get, but it's really important to understand, especially for those of us that want to be coaches and want to help people change some of their patterns. We have to understand that part of the stream of human programming is a current that's pushing people toward shortcuts. So we have this embedded desire for shortcut. That's one of the reasons why people are searching for it. And it's also why it's easy for us to say yes if we're presented with a shortcut. So people generally are not excited by foundations until they recognize the value of foundational work, until they recognize that the shortcuts haven't worked, or maybe they already value foundations from some other area of their lives or just the way that they were brought up or whatever. But most people, when it comes to marketing, are not drawn to foundation, they're drawn to fantasy. And that's one of the reasons why our efforts quite often don't produce what we want, because we're just buying the fantasies. We're buying what we hope is true or what we want to be true. We're buying shortcuts that are ideally going to help us avoid the thing. Here's the thing. We think that we're trying to avoid the problems. Really what we're doing is we're avoiding building our muscles, because the things that we don't actually want to experience are not only okay to experience, but they're necessary to experience. And we're going to dive into some of those today, because it's actually the turbulence that can build the sustainability. It's the turbulence that can build the stability. I've never put those two together, but it's really critical to understand. Those are like, we got to understand the duality between those. Most of us don't want to experience the turbulence, but because of that, we actually don't build stability. And because we don't build stability, we're more susceptible to turbulence. And then we're afraid of it. And when conditions change or people change or they don't follow the scripts or our preconceived expectations aren't fulfilled, then we don't have the stability to continue going. So that's the idea of and the concept of foundation when it comes to success, and specifically in the coaching industry. This is really critical. And the reason this hit me today, it was just a moment of clarity earlier today about this industry in particular and why there's so much uncertainty and instability baked into the industry's experience for most people, most people's experience in the industry. And one of the big reasons is there's no consensus about the way to succeed in this industry. And if you think about how important that piece is, like, we want to know, we want to believe in, we want to trust the path towards success. But in this industry, there really isn't an agreed upon path to success. And because of that, we either make it up on our own or we hear what other people tell us success is. And I think in this industry of coaching, success has largely become whether you can make money or not. If you can make money, then you're winning as a coach. And that's such a shallow definition of success. And it's actually one of the reasons that a lot of people don't succeed, not just because they're connecting finances to success, but they don't understand their own relationship to success or relationship to money, but also that is the target, is just, can I get people to give me money? And that's such a shallow definition of success. Your financial success in this industry should be based upon and a byproduct of your transformational success of this industry. Your financial success should be based upon your transformational success, meaning the more lives you can transform, the more money you'll make, but you make the money based on and after the transformation. And that's just not the way that this industry operates for a lot of people in a lot of areas. And that's one of the reasons why there's a piece of this coaching industry that really, truly operates like a pyramid. It operates like a pyramid because what we're selling is the same thing for them, whoever buys into it, for them to sell. Meaning, if I'm going to sell to you how to make money as a coach, my methods might not work unless you sell how to make money as a coach. And so if I sell to you a program called How to Make Money as a Coach, and then you sell to other people a program called How to Make Money as a Coach, and then they sell to other people a program called How to Make Money as a Coach, we're not really making money through the transformation of human lives. We're making money through the selling of the idea of making money. That's not how the entire industry works, but that's how a lot of the industry works. And I used to be really pissed off about that. I'm actually not pissed off about that anymore, because it's human behavior. And that's just the way it is. And it doesn't do me any good or us any good to get angry at what is. What I want you to understand is, if you fit into that role, if you are a vendor to this industry, meaning you want to help coaches make money by teaching them a process that they can then sell to help coaches make money, if that's what you want to do, then fantastic. Then feed into that, into that cycle. But what I know is that most of you don't want to do that. So if most of you don't want to do that, then it's just a matter of recognizing that the cycle exists, being able to see the cycle, and then either not get into the cycle, or if you find yourself in the cycle, then get out of the cycle. So for most of us, it's just simply not aligned as the right path for most people. But since there's no consensus about what the path is, there's a lot of competition about people trying to convince you what the path is. So you've got this person talking about social media, you've got this person talking about speaking, you've got this person talking about webinars, you've got this person talking about ads, you've got this person talking about something totally, completely different. There's probably 10 to 15 to 20 different paths that are currently being sold as the way to succeed as coaches. And if you notice now, when marketing starts to evolve because of the competition, then what happens is the marketers start throwing shade at other competitors. So what you'll see now is a lot of people going, are you a coach that's tried Facebook ads and your Facebook ads are just not working? That's because you're on the wrong path. You got to go to webinars. And then somebody else will go, are you one of those coaches that have been trying webinars? It's like an infomercial, right? Like the first part of the infomercial is all, it's black and white and it's all drab and dreary. And then all of a sudden, but what about webinars? And the teeth sparkles. And then it turns into a color picture. And then the music in the background changes. That's one of the ways that you can tell that the marketers are competing against each other, because there's no consensus about the path. So if we're competing about the path, that just adds so much uncertainty, so many different variables that creates disruption at such an overwhelming level for most people that we don't really know which way is up, right? I mean, think about this, think about in other industries. Is there dissension in other industries, especially professional industries, over the path to take? If you want to be a lawyer, there's no dissension over what you have to do. There's a very clear consensus. You got to go to law school. You got to take the bar exam. You have to pass the bar exam so that you can prove yourself competent according to a consensus of standards. And then once you have the completion of the bar exam, then you go get a job with a firm, or you open up your own small business and maybe hire employees as you grow, and you advertise, right? I mean, that's pretty much it, right? You prove competency, and then with that competency, you either get a job or open a business. Now, I'm, of course, simplifying it greatly, but from a high level perspective, that's it. Like, and that's pretty much the same thing with doctors, right? You want to be a doctor, what do? You go to med school, you prove competency by passing certain exams, and then they certify you, and then you work for a hospital or open up your own business and you advertise, right? Therapists, basically the same thing. You prove competency and then you let people know what you do. The coaching world isn't like that at all. One of the reasons is because there's no consensus on competency. This is really, really important to dive into just for a moment. Because there's no consensus on competency, there's no consensus on the standards for the certification that says you are now a legit, valid, approved of coach, then we can also sell to you. We can move that bar wherever we want. We can say, in order to be a really good coach, you got to pass, you got to jump over this bar and it's really high. Or I can sell you a $9 coaching certification program and drop the bar so low and give you the illusion of competency because or the illusion of certainty or the illusion of confidence because you've passed something that looks and sounds to the intellectual mind like it's competent, right? Like it's a certification. So in the coaching industry, the bar of competency is a variable. And because of that, our experience of and our perception of our own certainty is also a variable. If you pass the bar exam as a lawyer, you know you have what it takes to practice law. And there's just going to be a lot less questioning about, can you do it? Because you have this piece of paper that says, as far as our standards go, you can do it. And the same thing goes with so many other industries. But that's so critical to understand that in the coaching world, competency and therefore confidence based on that competency and certification, those are all variables. This just clarified for me right now as I just said that. That's the reason that certainty is the number one variable that keeps most coaches stuck, because there isn't a consensus about what it means and what you have to do to get it. So if there isn't a consensus, then we don't really know, and then we're essentially just guessing. I've never connected those dots until right now as far as why certainty is the most important thing for coaches, but it's not the thing that most people think they need, because if we think that we are competent enough, or we think that we are certain, or we've gotten our certification, then we want to know, how do we get clients? How do we market? How do we sell? And that's what we think we need in order to succeed as a coach. And what I'm telling you is we don't have the root certainty that will make the marketing work, that will make the sales work, that will make your content work. If you don't have the root certainty, then all of those other things that we think are important to us and we're then sourcing our confidence in are not sustainable. If you're sourcing your confidence in marketing tactics, but you don't have certainty in the product, the marketing tactic is overcompensation. If you don't have confidence in the product, you can't overcompensate with that or overcompensate for that with the best marketing tactics out there. At some point in time, it's going to come all crashing down. So that's why this topic is so critical. Confidence and certainty, and I'm going to add conviction into this conversation based on confidence and certainty. Without that, everything else is essentially icing with no cake. We need substance. If we don't have the substance, then we're just trying to overcompensate for our lack of substance. So with all of that context and foundation for today's video, I'm going to give you the last 7 of the 14 ingredients that it takes to truly become confident and certain and convicted as a coach, based on 15 plus years of experience and 10 years of helping coaches do this and making millions and millions of dollars and losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in mistakes that I've made. So I'm coming to you with the bumps and the bruises and the band-aids and the broken bones and all the falling down of all the hills that we've climbed, as well as seeing some pretty powerful views from some of the mountains that we also have climbed. So that's where all this is coming from. The first one is screwing it up. Now, this is going to be content for an entire another video. I'm just going to give you a small piece of this here for the context of these 14 elements. But you have to mess up. That's all I'm going to say. If I go any further, I'm going to stay on this for 15 minutes. You have to mess up in order to gain confidence. Now, I know that makes no sense to the intellectual mind. Exactly. That's why a lot of coaches don't have the conviction. You have to mess up in order to build your confidence. Number 2, you have to see other people's breakthroughs. You have to watch other people's demos as an audience member. You can't always be in the coaching seat or the client seat and be able to see all the stuff that's going on. You have to be in the audience seat in order to study the craft of coaching. And you've got to discuss it. I talked about that in the other video. You got to really discuss it and study the art of it, the what ifs, the what abouts, the could you have done this and that. It's a process that expands your capacity to believe in what's possible, not just in human transformation, but believe in what's possible in the art or science or both of coaching. And we have to find that bigger capacity outside of our current perspective. Otherwise, we're just going to stay in our myopic view and experience of coaching. The third thing is you've got to experience your own shift. You've got to experience your own shift. And we can probably take the F out of shift, and that is also a piece of this. You have to experience. If you want to be a transformational agent, if you really want to be able to help change people's lives, you've got to have a cellular knowledge. You have to have a cellular experience. It needs to live in your cells. You need to get to the point where, this is my experience at least, and I think this is the case for most people. Most people need to get to the point where you cross the I can't not do this line. At a certain point, you cannot not do this. Up until that point, your brain is trying to convince you that you can't do this. And then at a certain point, your soul has been convinced that you can't not do this. And when you bring your soul's conviction that I can't not do this, and it competes against the ego's conviction that I can't do this, your soul will win. But until your soul brings I can't not do this, your ego's I can't do this will probably win. That's just my experience. The fourth one is you've got to experience your ignorant ability to facilitate transformation for people. What that means is you've got to understand the process. You know, you see the demos and other people's perspectives, and then you've got to be given an exercise, and then you've got to practice the exercise. And then you have to go, holy crap, I can do this. I can do this. I can actually read these words, or I can say these things, I can make these sounds, and people can actually have a really powerful experience with the stuff that I did. That moment where you first experience your ability to transform somebody's life is game changing for you. And that's the first element of this getting into our bodies, where we sit in the coach's seat, try something and go, whoa, it worked. Without that piece, your ego is going to have a lot more leverage in the you can't do this conversation. Now, these last three are monumental shifts in energy. It's where you go from one thing to another thing. Number 5 is you go from selling to advocating. The amateur coach sells coaching packages. I just had to pause for a second because I could feel this statement before I even started to say it. The amateur coach sells coaching packages. The master coach offers transformational experiences. The amateur coach sells hoping for somebody's money. The master coach advocates and commands somebody else's transformation. The difference between those two things is so vast. I'm going to stop there on that one. That one is like reverberating in my body. Right. The 6th one here is you go from focusing on your performance as a coach to their progress as a client. And part of these last 3, these are also indicators of when you've made some of these shifts. You know that you've got confidence and certainty when you feel your body advocating for their breakthrough more than selling for their bank account. That's confirmation, and you can feel it. And one of the ways you'll be able to feel that is when people tell you no, they're not going to purchase your coaching package. It doesn't bother you. It doesn't destroy you. You don't have to feel like you don't feel like you got to get back up and recover from that because it didn't knock you down. That's because you're advocating more than selling. So back to this 6th one, you're focused more on and you're fueled more by their progress than your performance. The amateur coach is worried about messing up. And remember, we have to mess up. But the amateur coach is worried more about messing up and losing somebody's respect or people not liking them and preserving their own self-image based on their performance than they are the client's progress. When you're driven by the client's progress, your performance is no longer on the docket for you to even measure because your performance is now measured by their progress. So if they are making progress, then the coach is performing. And if they're not, then the coach is changing what they're doing in order to produce progress. That's a fundamental shift in what we are driven by. And then the final one here is moving from the concept of fixing to the concept of facilitating. It took me a long time, a lot of hours in the work with clients before I recognized I'm not fixing people because people are not broken. And I'm not solving other people's problems as much as I'm holding the space and facilitating their solutions to their own problems. And then I started to not even use the words problems and solutions because I genuinely don't believe that people have problems as much as they have conflicts or they have overlaps or they have misalignments. So we're not needing to change a bunch of the things that are going on under the surface. We just need to rearrange them. And as a facilitator, we're asking questions. We're not directing solutions. We're asking questions so that the person who tied the knots can untie the knots. When you make that shift as a coach, what will probably happen to you, this is what happened to me. I know this would happen to Michelle. This would happen to a lot of people in our community. When you really fully make that coach, especially on top of all these 13 things that I've talked about, this might be a weird word to use. Your liberation as a coach explodes. If you can resonate with that, I see a lot of you, if this resonates with you, then let us know and let everybody else know. Like, can you remember the time when you just had that massive shift? Like, oh, I am now fully liberated as a coach. And when you are liberated as a coach, you have the capacity to liberate other people so much deeper and quicker and more sustainable, because you are the essence of liberation, because you understand the process of liberation. And when you are liberated as a coach, you're not afraid of messing up. You're not afraid of asking a question and have it not go anywhere. You're not afraid of virtually anything that you can't control anymore, because you know, like you know, like you know. We were just having an exit interview with one of our students that completed all 3 of the certification levels. And he said, I might not know exactly what to say first, but I know we're going to get there. That right there is when we knew yes, that's the essence of coaching. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I know where we're going to end up. And that detachment from the details is so incredibly powerful, not just for you as the coach, because it'll remove your ego from coaching by agenda, and you're now coaching by client progress. When that gets removed, not only will you have this liberation in your energy, but the clients can feel it. The clients know that you got them because you understand this process. You understand what it's like to help somebody untie their own knots. And actually, I don't need to know what knot you tied. I don't need to know how long it's been tied. I don't need to know how many knots you've tied. Because what I know is that I know how to help people untie their knots, period. I don't need to know the details of the knots to believe that transformational facilitation can liberate humans. So if I study transformational facilitation, then I can liberate humans. It's a whole nother game, and it's not what most people are searching for or sourcing their confidence in. I'm talking about all of these things, but especially these last 3. And that's why so many people are actually struggling. So if you found yourself struggling to do videos, or struggling to post articles, or struggling to show up on social media or be visible in any other way, if you found yourself struggling in your consultations, you're afraid to ask if people want to continue coaching with you, you're afraid to tell them your prices. If there's any resistance around any of this stuff, especially if you know what to do and you're not doing it, you know about social media marketing, you know about doing webinars, you know about calling people up and asking them if you can come speak for their organization, whatever the path is, if you know what to do and you're not doing it, I can virtually guarantee that you don't have confidence, conviction, and certainty in the product. Because think about it. If you did, why wouldn't you do what you know how to do? It doesn't make sense. If you have the recipe for success, why wouldn't you follow the recipe? I mean, that just makes sense, right? Especially when we all want success. So if you know what to do and you're finding yourself not doing it in this industry, I can virtually guarantee you don't believe in the product yet. And you haven't crossed the I can't not do it line yet. That's why that line still defeats you, because the ego has convinced us that I can't do it. So in all of my years of doing this work and helping coaches, what I've learned that's the most foundational, sustainable, stable process to creating a solid, successful coaching business and getting clients to want to hire you is to get really, really good as a coach and have your certainty be your salesperson. I'm going to drink to that one right there. My certainty is my salesperson. That was amazing dance moves that you guys do not see on the screen. That's just behind the scenes shenanigans. Michelligans. We have a new term. Woohoo! The behind the scenes Michelligans. Well, how can we get this? What is that for? Hold on a second. I gotta get that out of the screen. All right, much better. Now I come back to a blurry camera. I almost had it. I feel like, hello, are you home? All right, so we might just go super blurry today. I only have the best HD camera that there is. And this is what you get for HD camera. I feel like I got to go like super slow. Like, I'm not going to hurt you. Oh, dang it. I'm not going to hurt you. I don't know. I seriously, I don't know how to get this back. So we're just going to, I'm just going to go with this. I don't think there's any I'm actually less insecure because I think I look better this way. This is my insecurities being hidden. Perfect. Remember how we talked about clearing your mirror? Right. Not if you're insecure about the way you look, then then you want to leave the mirror as foggy as possible. All right, I'm going to try one more time. Seems like every time I go off camera, I come back blurrier. I don't think it knows what to look for. Oh, it's messed up with my mic. I feel like I don't know. All right, so we're just going to go with it. This is going to be fantastic. Hey, if you like this video, check out that video right there where we break down a lot of really powerful questions to ask to create massive results for your clients. You want to help them get what they want in life, not what you want for them or what you would want for yourself or a loved one if you or a loved one was in